The chairperson, International Forum for Volunteering for Development, and AVI Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Paul Bird, representatives of the Australian government, respective heads of governments for IVCO member countries, our passionate and hardworking volunteers from across the globe, ladies and gentlemen. It's wonderful to be with you. As we say in Fiji, Bula Vinaka. For Fijians, Bula is more than a greeting. The word literally means life. If you have been to Fiji, you know a thing or two about our Bula spirit. It is not easy to capture what that means in words. You know it when you feel it. But if I had to describe it, I'd say it is a capacity for kindness and genuine generosity. Those qualities define what it means to be Fijian, and that same character can be seen in the world's volunteers, those who give their time and effort to help others in need. That is what unites today, the spirit of volunteerism, that capacity to serve those less fortunate than ourselves. As much as we had hoped to share our Bula spirit in person with each of you, I'm happy to join you virtually to kick off IVCO 2020. This annual conference of the International Volunteer Cooperation Organization recognizes service across borders as one of the most powerful ways to forge people-to-people ties between nations. And I thank our Aussie friends at the Australian Volunteers International for hosting this year's online conference, as well as the Australian government for their sponsorship of this event. The theme of your conference, Volunteering for Climate Action, speaks to a cause I hold above all others. I'm not alone. Climate action is personal for every Fijian. Every day, the rising seas ebb away at our coastlines, threatening communities which have stood for countless generations. We have moved 4 of those communities to higher ground already, with over 40 more in the queue for relocation. Back in 2016, Fijians began the year with our hemisphere's strongest ever storm, Cyclone Winston. Since that time, 7 more cyclones have struck our islands. In those times of disaster, volunteers from around the world have come to our aid. We are grateful to each of them, as we are to all those who assist us with the hard, enduring work of building our climate resilience, those who help teach in our schools, and those who help care for our sick. Through our Fijian volunteer service, our citizens answer that same call to service in Nauru, the Marshall Islands, Vanuatu, and Tuvalu, undoubtedly some of the most climate vulnerable nations in the world. Much of the economic and social benefits of volunteer work come from face-to-face interactions, and it is often those most vulnerable who benefit. Beset by a global pandemic, much of that potential good may seem out of reach. Sure, we can meet virtually, but we can't deliver relief or rebuild a cyclone-devastated community over video conference. But there is still a great deal we can do. To those of you tuning in from developed nations, the most important way, by far, that each of you can contribute to the cause for climate action can happen right now, right where you are. It starts by speaking out on the need to achieve net zero emissions by 2050, something I've dubbed a life or death deadline for the Pacific. We must end the fossil fuel assault on our planet and our people, and instead light the way towards renewables. We must protect our reefs, our forests, our farms, and our people by limiting global temperature to 1.5 degrees above the pre-industrial age. And we must support leaders who act on that ambition. Because if our planet remains on track for 3, 4, or more degrees of warming, there will not be a Pacific left to save. Fijians are committed to net zero, but we did not cause this crisis, and we cannot solve it alone. It is the high-emitting nations who will make or break this campaign, and it is citizens in those countries who will have the power to see it succeed. So I ask each of you to volunteer for climate action by doing everything possible to curb the emissions that are warming our planet and putting our development, our economies, and our future at risk. I look forward to following your discussions over the next few days. I hope one day soon you will have the chance to see us in Fiji and share our Bula spirit firsthand. Until then, I say, Vinaka Vagalevu, and God bless you all.